Very cool.
I do think that a recap is needed. So good that you're taking some days off.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll probably, yeah, I'll probably post a snapshot again of where we're at the end of this one, right? So then they'll be able to start on Monday. Um, yeah, with a project that's bang up to date. So that's the idea. Um, but yeah, if anybody wants to catch up this whole project now, I zipped up and I dropped it into the channel. And so if you unzip it and open it, hopefully you should be at this point here. Right, let me just make sure that...
Would you like to maybe do the window a little bit bigger?
Yeah, let me have a look. I can't, unfortunately, because I'm streaming to... I'm streaming this exact size to YouTube. So it's only Discord. So if you want a larger window, I would go to my YouTube channel. Do you want me to post a link? Anna, maybe can you do that, seeing as you're around?
Sure, okay.
Because on the YouTube it will be full size, it will be full 1080. It's just on Discord that it won't allow you to... if I could stream from OBS to Discord, then that would solve the issue, but it's not possible, unfortunately. Right, okay, let me do a quick recap of where we're at. So we have... just hit play here. We have our little character here walking around, and she's stabby as well. And she can walk and stab as well, so we've got this kind of cool stabbiness going on whenever we click our mouse button. So what we're going to work on today is stabbing someone else, right? That's kind of what you want to do with PvP, is you want to stab your friend. So we need to do a couple of things before we get there. One thing is I did have like the whole library set up here so I could change this character quickly, and managed to lose that. So let's add that again. It'll be kind of cool to go through that anyway. So what we need to do is click on character, click on here and type in sprite, not spite, sprite, and choose sprite library. Let's expand that out, and if we click here we can choose one of our characters. So let's choose the boy, and now we want our sprites here to swap to the sprites held in that sprite library. We've done this once before, so if you followed an earlier stream you should kind of know how to do this, but what we just need to do is, what I did is clicked on the top one, top sprite here, arm front, shift clicked on the bottom sprite here, arm back. That's selected all the sprites in our character, and then we want to add component sprite resolver. That's the one we want to add to all these sprites. Okay, and then we just need to go through each one of these and choose category all and the correct sprite type, which is arm front for this one. Let's go to head. That was correct, but just make sure that is head. Body, let's choose body. Leg front, leg front, leg back. I'm changing category to all on these as well. So leg back, arm back, arm back. And now we can change characters really easy, right? So we can come in here. Um, these are a list of our sprite libraries that we'd set up in an earlier stream, and we could just drop these in here and we immediately change our character. So we're back to that now. So choose whichever character you want to be the one who's stabby. Let me just save my scene here. And I'm going to choose maybe this boy as being the stabby one. Yeah, the boy can be the stabby one. And what we need to do now is we need to create what's called a prefab. And the prefab just makes it easy to have kind of like multiple instances or multiple characters that all have exactly the same things on them, like all these scripts, right? We basically want another character with all these scripts on as well. And you could just copy and paste, right? But I kind of want to add more stuff to this character, and then I want it to kind of auto magically kind of add to the other character in the scene. You'll see what I mean in a second, right? So let's create a folder called Prefabs. And I'll tell you another good reason for creating prefabs. Prefabs are super handy, right? Imagine that we want to create another scene. We've got this main scene, and maybe this main scene is going to be our pub, right? And we'll put all our pub graphics in here. But maybe we want another scene that's another house or a forest area or something like that. Now, at the moment, getting our character from this main scene into another scene, and let's just do it. So if I do create scene here, we maybe call this forest scene, say. Imagine we're creating a forest scene that we want our character in. So if I double click it, now how do I get our character in here? Now we have kind of like our textures of our characters, but they're not really proper prefabs. And if I drag one of these in, it doesn't have, let me just pull it down a bit so you can see it, it doesn't have all the stuff we've added, right? It hasn't got, you know, all those IK stuff. It hasn't got the scripts on, and so it's somewhat useless to us, right? We want the character that we've done all the hard work on, right, in the other scene. So if I come back to this main scene here, we want this character that's got all the hard work that we've done, the IK manager, or all the targets that we've set up and all that. The way you do that is by creating a prefab. And it's super easy to create a prefab, right? It's just nothing. You just basically take this, you drag it in here, you let go, and I want an original prefab, right? I want this to be a nice basic prefab. And there you go, I've got my character here, right? Now I can go into my forest scene. Let's just save that. Now I can grab this prefab, drop it in here, hit play, and I have stabby boy in here who walks around. Right, so prefabs are great, and they solve that exact issue. And any changes that we make to this prefab here will get reflected immediately in those scenes, right? So very powerful. The only thing you kind of have to watch though is if you change a prefab in a scene, if you want it to kind of sync, a little bit like Dropbox or something, if you want it to sync, you kind of have to almost like press sync, right? It's actually a little bit tricky to find. It's in this overrides here. You click down here and you would have to apply it here, and that is kind of like saying I want to sync all these changes I've made to my prefab here. And also there's a special clever kind of prefab view where you kind of don't have to do that. You can come in here, open the prefab, and then you can change it in here. and that kind of alleviates you having to sync anything. But let's not worry too much about that. Okay, so I said I want another character, right? So we've just seen how we do that. We just drag our prefab into here like so, and we now have another character if we move it. We've got two characters in here now, right? And what we can do just to differentiate these characters a bit is I can click on here and choose a different thing, right? Now, if I hit play now, I'm only going to be able to sort of control one of these characters just because of how the input system works. And I kind of want to be able to control this boy here and stab away at this one and test all our damage scripts and things. So what we can do is click on this character, and I'm just going to disable player input. I'm just going to click that there like that. And then I keep doing Control S, saving the scene, because I just know how often Unity crashes. So we've been lucky actually in these streams. I don't think we've had a crash yet, but that's pretty unusual. And then now, because I've disabled input on this one, then the boy gets back to hogging the input. So now, I mean, at the moment, it's kind of cool, you know, just stabbing that poor girl underneath the armpit like that. But we're not doing anything, right? She's got no concept of health. We haven't got a health bar. You know, it doesn't matter how many times I stab her, she isn't going to die, right? And we want to fix all that, right? We want to add some mortality to this game. Okay, so let's come down here, open up our root, our chest. Let's find our dagger. It's buried all the way down here, right? This is our dagger. And one way we can do handle damage is basically add something to our dagger, and we kind of track when that touches the body of the other player, and that's kind of how we do it, right? And in fact, maybe we'll add the body first, because that might make things a little bit more obvious. So if we click on our character here, so this is the boy character, we can add a collider, and the one I'm looking for is Capsule Collider 2D. Don't do the 3D one, it's this 2D one here. So let's just click on that, and it's a little bit small, right? This is supposed to be like the hitbox around our character, so we just need to move it around a bit. So let's have a play around with this. We want it to be kind of much longer, much wider. Let's move it up. So I'm using this, the offset and the size inside this Capsule Collider 2D component. I want to kind of move it over the player like that. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And you just want to get it to the point where you think that the players aren't going to complain that they've been hit when they haven't been hit, and etc. Right? But I guess if a blade comes in here and he's stabbing here, you're gonna accept the fact that you've been stabbed, right? So I think that's pretty well good enough, yeah. Now we want to make sure, something I always forget to do is click this little is trigger box, right? Because we want, this is a hitbox, right? It's not a we're not using it at the moment anyway to sort of stop this character walking into things. That might change, but at the moment we're just worried about checking for if we're stabbed, right? So let's just deal with that for the moment. So having this as a trigger means that it's just going to detect if things go into, it's not going to stop this boy from walking through walls or anything like that. It's not going to deflect the end of the blade or anything like that. It's going to actually just detect when things pass in and out of it. And this is why you kind of call it a trigger more than, and if this is unticked, it's more a collider, right? So these colliders kind of have two facets to them. They're either colliders and they sort of bounce off things, or they're triggers and they kind of detect when things go through them. That's kind of how these things work. Now then, we're stabbing this one, right? So we want this round here, but of course we know that we're prefabs now. We're kind of the same. And how do we prove that? Well, if I click apply, we can see we've added this capsule collider, so it's keeping track of what's changed on this character, and it's saying, well, it's like diffing it. It's like seeing the difference between the prefab I'm holding on disk and this character is this capsule collider 2D that you've added, right? So yeah, great, thanks for telling me that. That's I know. So let's apply all, like so, and then we click on our other character, and whoa, yeah, cool. It's acquired our capsule collider because it's synced up automatically with our prefab here. Cool. So now we have a hitbox around our character. So now if you can imagine this point of the blade, we want to detect when this point of our blade goes into this 2D capsule collider here. And so we need another trigger on the end of our blade, so let's do that. So I am going to, I could add it directly on, but I'm kind of just going to add a new game object. You can do it either way, it doesn't matter too much, but I just want to call this something like damager. And we'll move this to the end of our blade, somewhere like that, and zoom in a bit. And then we don't really want anything on here except a circle collider 2D. Now, I mean, some of these other colliders would do. You could, obviously not the 3D ones, but the 2D ones, you know, box collider. But circle colliders are pretty optimized, right? They're one of the most basic, pretty easy to figure out technically. You don't have to do the work. Unity's doing this behind the scenes, but if you had to write the system for detecting whether something's gone inside here, just take it from me that circles are easy to figure out. So I'm guessing that a circle collider 2D is probably one of the more optimized things we can add here. And I guess they'd probably complain for if it was this big, so let's just not that much. Let's move it down to about 0.25, and there you go. I mean, if that tip of the blade has gone into you've been stabbed, haven't you? There's no getting away from it. And like you see, I've clicked on this is trigger here because this is again a trigger. I want to know. I don't want the end of our blade bouncing off anything. I just want to know when we've stuck it into another player. It's a bit gruesome. I apologize. Okay. Right. But we do need scripts on here, right? So this is detecting all this stuff, but we need to do stuff on all this happening, and so we're going to need to do some scripts. So let's come to scripts, right click here, do create C# script, and I'm going to call this damager. And you can imagine that this might be a kind of handy thing that we could add to anything, right? You could imagine you could add this to the end of a sword or anything really. So sometimes it's a little bit handy to have these things on separate game objects that you could, weirdly enough, pull out to be a prefab, yeah, and then you could drop it on anything. And depending on how kind of generic you write the script, it might just work, right? So let's double click our damager script. And we don't want any of this code, so we can delete all that. And we can do a void on trigger enter. And I'm getting prompted with frighteningly correct code. So let's just use that. It saves me a bit of typing. The only thing its VS Code has got wrong is that we're going to have a separate health component on our character or player, and so I am going to call that health, and we haven't written it yet, so this is why it's complaining. And I kind of want to tell it how much damage this damage is going to do, and I actually might make this a public float so we can define how much damage this damager does, which would make it quite nice and versatile. So let's do that. So this won't compile yet, and this is pretty standard. You'll see this in a lot of trigger enter code. And just to be clear, right, this on trigger enter 2D gets called automatically when that circle enters another collider or trigger, right? And so we would expect as soon as the tip of our blade goes into the body of the player, this will get called. And the other is the player, right? So we want to set the tag of our characters to player, because this is kind of handy to kind of check if you're actually stabbing another player. It might be that you want to stab other stuff, right? So this could change, but at the moment we're just really interested in player versus player and stabbing other players. So this is a decent enough check to check for. So let's do that. So if I click on my character here, and we've got this tag here, and this is what it's going on about, it's going to check whether this is player. So let's set that to player, and then let's set our overrides, and let's sync up so that this character also is tagged player. Cool. Right. So what we were saying was that we are missing the health script. So let's add that now. So if we do create C# script health, and we double click health, and we get rid of all these. Now again, I'm getting prompted with very handy code, which I'm going to take, but I do want one more thing in here. I want a public float max health. That's going to be pretty handy in a minute. Take damage is good, like we were calling it with defaulting it to 10. And we could destroy the game object. It's not necessarily best practice to be destroying your game objects, especially on mobile. So if we want to be a little bit more mobile friendly, we would do a game objects dot set active false, and then we don't have to worry about memory management coming around and cleaning up all our destroyed objects, which will tend to make your code pause if it does that. So don't worry too much about that, but just a word of warning that going around destroying your game objects in your code might come back and bite you at some point. So let's just play it safe. This will actually make it look as if the player disappears, and that's good enough, I think, for now. So let's make sure that we add our health to our character. So if you can imagine, this is like keeping track of the health of our character, and we've just got a dedicated component for doing that, which is pretty nice. So let's sync up our characters so that our other character gets this health script as well. And let's double check. Our damager should be happy now, I would have thought, because what we're doing is here we're saying, okay, who have you stabbed? Well, you've stabbed another player, and we've just added like health component to our players, yeah. So we know we can do that, and we can call this take damage, which is here, and that's going to take away from health, which starts at 100. It will take 10 away each time, and then when it gets to 0 or below, it should disappear. Let's test that out. So let's save our scene. Let's hit play. Let's highlight this character so we can see their health, and then I doubt we're close enough to stab her here, but wonderfully that is not working. Okay, let's figure out why our damager isn't working. We haven't added the damager script to our damager. I could have sworn we'd done that, but obviously we have not. So let's make sure we do that, and we apply all again. Let's sync up our two characters. Let's just double check that they get the not that I'm paranoid or anything. Yeah, they've got the damager script, so we're all good there. Second time lucky, we'll see. Click on character. Let's stab out here, so that's not happening. Fingers crossed. Oh, there you go. We are stabbing away, and we've won the game. Brilliant. Cool. Right. What do we want to do now? Well, it's a little bit tricky to know how many times you need to stab your opponent before they die, or in this case disappear. So let's add a health bar, and then we can see very visually what's going on. So we seem to always be changing this top character, so let's carry on doing that. Right click our character. We want to add UI image, and our canvas does not want to be our screen space. When you do that, it kind of presumes that you're creating UI for the screen, like, you know, a mini map up here and I don't know, a inventory down here or something. Yeah, so something that's sort of stuck to your screen, right? And we don't want that. We want this canvas, this image, this health bar to be in the world with our character. So we change our render mode to world space. The only trouble with that is our canvas is absolutely huge now, right? So we're down here and our canvas is, yeah. And even if we do a reset to zero all this stuff, we can still see our canvas is way too big. So what we can do is do 0.01. You probably find yourself doing this a lot. This seems to be kind of like a standard scale you do to get your canvas to be something manageable on a character in your game. And we want it to be above our head. So let's do that. We move this above here, like so. Let's just move this character. Should we move the character down, or where is the camera? Oh, the camera's on 0, so it's quite nice. Let's just move all our characters down. So I'll just move this characters game object with them all on. Oh, this one isn't in there. That's sad. Okay, I'll just move them individually. So we'll just move this one down and this one down. Hey, was there any questions? I think that's about right. Yeah, let me just check the Discord to see if anyone's got any questions or... Oh wow, there's a lot of people in here. I didn't realise. Hi everyone. Even Benji's in here. Okay, seems like everybody's interested in seeing how all the stabbing is going. Don't blame you. This is the fun part, right? So, yeah, you can interrupt and ask questions. That's absolutely fine because I actually also re-record all these for the course anyway, just to improve the quality a bit and fix any ums and ahs and all that sort of stuff. So, which I do a lot of. So there you go. So feel free to ask any questions, but I will carry on if there's no questions. And I think we're pretty. How are we doing? Oh gosh, we've got 9 minutes left. I think we can do this. No problem at all. So this health bar goes above the head. I kind of want it to be a little bit smaller. Let's put 50 in here. But of course quite a bit wider, so let's just do it something like that. It's not very centralized, so seem to be moving the canvas, so let's just move the canvas. Doesn't really matter that much. Let's just stick it over the head there. That's probably will do. And right, the reason why I'm kind of choosing this image instead of just whacking on a sprite is you get kind of a little bit more capabilities with these UI images. You can't see it now because we haven't got a sprite in here, so let's create a sprite. Quick way to do this is right click, do create 2D sprites square, and that creates us a square sprite. If you click on it, you just see all it is a texture 256 by 256, but it's kind of handy that it's built into the, don't have to go off you know, into Photoshop or whatever and just create yourself a square. You can just do it right here and now, which is cool. So let's come back to our image and drag and drop that square in, and then we can change this to filled. And if we drop this, we can see, well, we don't want a radial fill. We actually want a horizontal fill. And then we get this cool little health bar I mean, piece of cake, right? That's exactly what you want. But normally you would have a health bar and you'd have another bar underneath it to kind of help you see what's going on. So let's just duplicate this. And we want one to be black and one to be health is often red, sometimes green. We'll just make it red for the moment. And
Red or green? It's which pill do you choose? It's a tough choice.
I think it might be. Oh, what am I doing here? Yeah, perfect. Right. So you want the black one above and the red one below, because it just canvases draw in that order, right? So we don't have to worry about ordering, any kind of layers or anything. And let's just rename this so we know where we are. So this is image background, and then this is image health. Yeah, I think sometimes like your opponents have red bars sometimes, and you have a green bar. Yeah.
I think it makes sense to be more neutral color than red, because red is like as if it's already hurt, you know.
Yeah. Do you want it to be green? What do you want it to be?
It's fine. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave it as it is. Happy to have a vote on it. And of course, you're going to be doing this yourself, guys. So you can just choose whatever color you like. Cool. Right. So as you can imagine, we've got this fill amount, and as we take damage, we just want to pull this all the way down, and then we'll disappear, right? So what we want to do is, and fill amount is what they call normalized, so it's full at 1 and empty at 0. So normally I would separate data from UI, so I would do a UI health script, but because this is fairly simple, we can, things might get a little bit more complicated with multiplayer, right? So we might need to separate these things out, but let's just keep things fairly straightforward, seeing as we've only got 4 minutes. So let's just add our image to our health. Now I happen to know that the image is under the UI namespace, so we have to bring in the Unity Engine.ui namespace so that we can do use our image here. Now, something I won't get too into, but if you know that you're not gonna want to adjust this from an external script, then you want to use serialize field and private. This is not slider, this is image. And this means that no other script can get at this health bar, which, health should, this script should look after the health bar, nothing else should touch it, so that's good. Makes debugging a lot easier. But serialized field allows the editor to get at the health bar, because you kind of need to set this image up, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, right. When do we need to update our health bar? Is when we take damage. So we can do health bar dot fill amount is health divided by max health. See why I need max health now? That is going to be 100 always. This start off at 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1. Fill amount is normalized, so we get our 1. It's full. If this was 50 and this was 100, this would pass back a half, 0.5. Fill amount half. Hopefully that all makes sense. The only thing we probably want to do, just to be on the safe side, is on our start is just set our health bar fill amount to, let's just set it to 1. Like I say, it's normalized, so just make sure that it's full. And also we kind of want to make sure that our health is equal to max health. This is not entirely 100% necessary. We can always make sure our health bar is set to 1 in our scene and everything, but you know, just to show you that you can set these things up in code, just in case, say, just wait for this to save, just in case, say, you want to just sort of remind yourself that this is how the health bar works, then this will always get reset, and we're golden. Okay, we're not quite done, because like I said, we kind of need to set up this image, right? And so this serialized field means that we can get at this even though it's not public, and we need to drag and drop this in here so that our script knows which image it's changing the fill amount for. Doesn't want to do the background, wants to do this health one here. Let's do an apply all. So there you go. See, she's got herself her health bar. Let's save. Let's hit play. Let's wait a sec. Yeah, so this is a good one. So you're trying to read input using the engine input, invalid, blah 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 blah. You might think, what on earth is going on there, right? I haven't really written much code, so how can it be complaining, right? Well, this is just because we added this canvas, and so Unity's trying to be helpful and add a whole event system. But it's a little bit behind the times in its brain, and it uses the legacy event system. But it does give you a handy little button to sort of say you can upgrade me. So we can either delete it because we don't care too much about UI events at the moment, or we can just upgrade. And I think I'll just upgrade. So we'll click that button there, clear these, and we've upgraded our UI event system to use the new input system that we are using. Hit play again. No error messages. Stabby stabby. There you go. We have a health bar that goes down, and then our poor girl dies. And I think we did it with 1 minute to spare. So pretty cool. I will not be streaming for the next couple of days, like I said, taking Thursday, Friday and the weekend off. But coming back Monday with a vengeance to start working on the multiplayer stuff, right? So we've got quite a lot of stuff done now, right? We've got this character walking around, we've got health, we can stab things, we've got a health bar. We're in a good place now to start doing multiplayer. Okay, our background is not is not beautiful. We will fix that probably later on in the week. And then the week after we do the multiplayer, we will be adding some blockchain stuff, and that's going to be pretty cool as well. So that's about it. Thanks everyone. I hope you found that interesting. I think that was kind of cool.
Yes, it was. I've got a question.
Oh God, go on then.
When armor?
Yeah, it's a bit unfair at the moment, right? It does look as if like the girl's got a bit of armor on here, and probably better than what this boy's got, and they take the same amount of damage and all that sort of stuff. I don't think the course is gonna be deep enough to cover all these sorts of things, but I think if you figured out if you've been able to add health, then you can probably figure out how to change the amount of damage you get depending on what you're wearing and stuff. It's not going to be too hard. But yeah, point taken.
Hey, are you gonna include madness like Darkest Dungeon? A second metric. That's gonna be cool.
How long do you want this course to last, right? It could
Forever,
forever,
keep
yeah,
adding things.
yeah. It could go on. Um, I mean, I honestly feel like once we've got like basic multiplayer, right? It'd be quite nice to do some courses where we add some extra systems on, right? So we could probably do like once we have this game, we can maybe we can turn it into a community game, right? Just thinking sort of just off the top of my head here that we could actually start doing some courses where people are voting on what happens next and what we need to add, and then I can do a little course, or if it's very small, if it's a very simple thing, I'll just do a YouTube video, right? But if it's like a whole complex system where someone wants to see like you say, a whole armor system, yeah, or even more complicated NFT integration, like we've got at Rogue Fox Guild, right? We've got obviously our NFT integration is quite a bit more complex than this, because we've got different items and so our character rigs are quite complex. But you can kind of see, I'm sure you can probably figure out. I mean, we can yeah, we can kind of. We're almost there, right, with this. So you could, well, not easily do in with this system, but you can kind of see how you would bring in other items and swap these on here. Yeah, it's this is a simpler way of doing it, but I'm using exactly the same kind of ideas. I'm using the sprite resolver because this is definitely a nice way of swapping out your sprites on the fly, and I'm using the sprite library actually for the fox bodies. I'm using this very similar system actually. It's just for the items, the additional items, where it starts to get a little bit more complex. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if people are interested in adding more complex systems. But let's keep things simple for the moment and get the course finished in a reasonable time frame. Cool. If there's no other questions, thanks for that question, Anna. I will finish the streams. Hopefully, you'll be back on Monday for some quite a bit heavier stuff. So I'd make sure you're well rested.
So where can people get the resources all in one?
So I will zip this project up as it stands now. I'll do it straight after the stream and drop it into the course channel, Morgan's course channel on our Discord server. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go to roguefoxguild.com to find our Discord server, link at the top. Join our Discord server and introduce yourself, and you will find this project zipped up in the course channel, and you'll all be ready for Monday. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.